I'm Dr. Craig Escudé, the host of IDD Health Matters, a podcast where we talk about health, wellness, and health equity for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Hope you enjoy it. Welcome to this episode of IDD Health Matters, a podcast where we talk about health, wellness, and health equity for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We're coming to you from the Anchor Conference, the American Network of Community Options and Resources. And our guest today is Andrea Palmer.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. Andrea, I can't wait to hear more about what you do in this field. Tell us what you do.
I'm the CEO and co-founder of Awake Labs. We are a enabling and assistive technology company that has a platform to measure stress and strong emotion in real time using wearables to support people with IDD to live more independently and with a better quality of life.
Okay. Explain it in a little more detail. That's fascinating, but tell me more.
So our platform has three main components. We have a Smartwatch app that goes on a Fitbit or a Samsung, Apple Watch. Then we have a mobile app and a clinical or web dashboard for care managers and clinicians. So the Smartwatch app continuously measures heart rate and motion. It measures a baseline for each user that's personalized to that individual, and then it looks at how that person's emotions are escalating throughout the day. And when we detect that maybe they're getting agitated or anxious, we send an alert to the mobile phone that they can use for their own self-regulation, or their support team can use to check in and see if they need additional help or follow their behavior support plan that's in place. And then all of those data are on the web dashboard where they're able to come together as a care team and look at the trends and patterns and identify if they need to try something new or if there are really challenging times during the day where they should be or could be providing different supports.
That is fascinating. It really is. And it really, there are so many things, so many advances and from a technology standpoint that are happening nowadays to help people live more independent lives. And how does this technology help improve independence?
So in a variety of ways. So our users are, the youngest is 13, and kind of everyone above that in Canada and the US. So for folks who are, let's say, transition age youth, it's being used to help them with self-regulation to...
So when you say that, you mean kind of recognize their changes within themselves and
Yes.
then do things on their own that can help maybe resolve that, whatever that it is that's causing that stressor.
Exactly. So
Gotcha.
As a youth, it could be to help them with their... coping skills or to live in a lower state of anxiety so they can learn better, they can have more meaningful friendships, better relationships with their families, and it's helped with vocational training and supporting people with employment. And then for adults, it's been used to help support staff provide more timely intervention and giving that individual more confidence in receiving supports, and knowing that if they go into a situation or if they're in a situation where they might, like the grocery store or something where they might need to leave, that the support staff will know and be able to help them leave with dignity. And so in that way, it helps with independence in that they're able to, or we've seen them feel more confident in going out into the community and doing and trying new things because they know they can leave and they trust their staff to be able to help them kind of get out of that situation. But then we've also been able to, someone who was previously in a home with roommates and 24/7 staff, now only has 10 hours a day of support staff, so is able to, not have someone around all the time.
Right.
And then it's also been used for people in supported independent living, able to feel confident in developing their own skills in their own sensory room in their home, and changing their work schedule to make them feel more confident and comfortable in doing that. And so there are many different ways that it's been able to help there.
And it's giving them more control over their own lives.
That is such a big thing. You know,
Yeah.
you look at the CQL, the personal outcomes measures, and
So
all
that's
of the
council on quality and leadership.
Yes.
And they have personal outcome measures.
right.
And so that's what you're talking about
And
here.
so
right?
many, so many of the questions and the indicators on quality of life for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities involve control over their decision making, control over their ability of who's in their life, and when to be able to interact with them. It's not just, you know, someone who believes their place of employment is you know, your home.
Right.
And so that it's also giving them the agency to have control over some of those decisions.
You know, and that's a very important point when we're talking about control, and that's something that we all want. I mean, we all want control over our lives.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we need different levels of support in our lives, but we certainly would not want the most involved level of support if we don't need it. And so this technology really helps give the person space, maybe not need a supporter right there with them all of the time, and also just feel a little more involved, like we said, in their own life decisions, and being able to self-regulate challenging situations a little bit better. That is fantastic. So you're based out of Canada, right?
Yes.
And where?
Yeah, Toronto.
Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you're kind of making waves in lots of areas. Where are your people that are using this tool right now? Where are they located mostly?
So mostly in Ontario, but we are in 6 states in the U.S. So we're in California, New York, Arkansas, Connecticut, Texas, and Illinois.
Excellent. So how do, if someone's out there and interested in what you're doing, how do they start the process?
They can reach out directly to us. So it depends on the individual, and if they're interested on behalf of an organization or a particular person. So they can reach out directly, and we can work with them. We're working with providers and partners to get coverage under some of the HCBS home community-based services,
Right.
assistive technology waivers depending on the state. So, you know, there could be government funding that can cover some or all of this. We have families who are using it themselves in their homes, and then providers and even managed care organizations and health plans who are interested in helping cover it for their members.
So all different levels. So if there's an individual person who wants to reach out to you,
Reach out and we can work with them to try and find a way.
or say a provider organization who
Again.
provides supports and services, again,
Yeah.
that way. So you can really reach or work with any type of group or organization. That's great.
That's the plan.
All of this from a smartwatch?
Yeah.
Pretty incredible, huh?
So we started as Awake Labs in 2015, and honestly, smartwatches just weren't where they are now. And so initially we thought we would have to build our own, which proved to be very difficult.
I'm sure. I can only imagine.
We were very glad that we didn't do that. But yeah, now the smartwatches, you know, they're pretty smart. They still have some limitations, but
they'll probably get smarter.
Exactly. But going back to the control, it gives the individual as well and a better understanding of, you know, maybe how they're sleeping and how their exercise is, and they can choose who to share that information with as well, so they can feel like they understand more about themselves and what's happening.
You know, it reminds me of something I heard about young and thought it was the coolest thing, but biofeedback. That's kind
exactly
of what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the evolution of I remember, what was it, little sensors you'd put on your finger and it would make a noise if you were tense or whatever.
Yes.
So we've come a long way since then.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it helps the person really understand themselves as well.
Yeah. One of our users out of California was experiencing a lot of we can call them panic attacks. They weren't panic attacks, but it's easy when something is happening that it can feel like it's happening to you, that you have no control over the situation.
Right,
You're experiencing this. And so one of the things that their care team and the individual were able to do was understand that, this is just feel more like they have more control even over those incidents and things that are going on, and it's not something that can happen out of the blue. There's more that you can do to try and help with it.
So do you have a story or two that you can tell about how this impacted a person's life in a positive way?
Yeah. So one of our very first users, actually, we'll start with our first user. So she lived in a home with some roommates, had 24-hour-a-day supports. She played on sports teams and was involved in her community. But her anxiety was really challenging. And when she got to the point of dysregulation, she may become, let's say, verbally aggressive towards her support staff. And they decided together with her and her family that the safest thing for everyone in that moment was to leave her alone. Leave her alone, let her work it out, and the support staff would leave and then would come back when she was calmer. But in that moment was when she needed the most help, and that's when they left. So even though she was part of that decision, it still didn't feel good.
Right.
And then she would use the phone and call her family, but would already be in kind of that, anxious state. And so then she had a contentious relationship with her family. And it also led to about 3 behavior or anxiety-driven inpatient visits each year. And so she started using the watch, got on board, and part of what happened initially was that her support staff were able to help her earlier before it got to that level where she was anxious and they would leave her. And so she was ready to be more accepting of their help because she understood they were there to help her as opposed to abandon her essentially. Right. And then she had a better relationship with her family because she would call them not only when she was in that anxious state, but to actually check in. She continued playing sports in the community and everything. And her inpatient hospitalizations went down to 1 on average per year. And now she lives in a semi-independent living, 10 hours a day of support. So she's by herself and, can be a young 20-something-year-old and do the things she wants to do. And her goal is to continue to use it to live independently one day and to use it for self-regulation.
That truly is an empowering and an amazing story, and I'm sure there's lots of them. Yes. Yeah, it's got to feel pretty good to work in this field.
It does. It does. And since the beginning, it's been those stories. And initially, it was the potential for that, and now it's those stories that are really driving us.
Yeah, one of the things we talk about on the show is the opportunities that exist in this field in many different areas for people to have a career in this field. It might be direct support professionals, it might be a nurse, it might be an administrator, and here we are, a technology developer working in this space.
Yes.
So you really have many, many opportunities to work in this field. And it really impacts the lives of people. There's a lot of reward in that.
Yes. I studied mechanical engineering, robotics and automation, and I used to build robots that play soccer by themselves and compete them around the world. I'm a big nerd. It's fine.
That sounds pretty cool.
But it was the impact that really kind of was the motivation behind the idea, or how we came to this idea for Awake Labs. Found some supporting research, managed to talk to people who are so much smarter and wiser than we are to help point us in the direction. And then there were a few providers that took a chance on us early and helped co-develop and build with us. And that's really how we were able to create the impact that we have had today.
That's fantastic. I'm Dr. Craig Escudé, President of Intellectability. State developmental disability agencies, managed care organizations, and providers across the United States use Intellectability's health risk screening tool, e-learn courses, and person-centered training to improve health equity for people with IDD. Visit replacingrisk.com to learn more about how you can employ these tools with people you support. So I like to do this little thing called 3 and 3. So I ask people to talk about 3 things that they'd like listeners to know about this field. Really, anything that you want in 3 minutes. So
with a clock.
A semi-clock. I actually used to use a clock, but I'm like, this is ridiculous. So have at it.
So I think the first one is just building off of what I just said of the kind of partnerships and working with people who have been through it before and who are willing to help you along the way. If they've figured out some things and you've figured out others, you can partner together.
So find people to work together with.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because it's a very complex industry,
No doubt.
and you need everyone kind of on board and working together to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is to listen when people are talking or showing you or communicating with you in whatever way that they do that. Listen to their experience, what they're saying, in order to be able to really support them. I think a lot of times, whether it's, we have our agenda of, we need to have lunch at this time and go to this activity or whatever, understanding that there's more going on with that person than you might understand and be able to, just be receptive to that.
I love that. Listening to people and recognizing that people communicate in different ways.
Yes.
And so you can listen in all kinds of different ways.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it might be through behavior, which we talk about a lot. But it's important to give people that space to talk to you, and you can learn a lot from them in that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you have a third for us?
The third would be just enjoy it and have fun.
Yeah.
It can be, challenging. The days, you never know what's going to happen, the ups and downs, but you really remember at the end of the day, we're here to help people live their lives better. And no matter how much bureaucracy or paperwork that there's a purpose and that we're working towards it. So not that everything's meant to be fun, but enjoy it because it's meaningful.
I think that's the best thing right there is enjoy it and recognize that the work you're doing really will impact people, even though there are challenges in getting there sometimes.
Absolutely.
Andrea, thank you so much for taking the time to be on this show, but most importantly, thank you for the work that you're doing in this field. It's amazing, and I can't wait to talk to you again later and hear what's going on and what new things you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
The IDD Health Matters podcast is a production of Intellectability. Learn more about our health risk reduction tools and training for supporters of people with IDD by visiting replacingrisk.com.